The ship Horizon Arc floated in silence above the dying planet Arcturus 9. The world below once glowed with green oceans and silver mountains, but now it was a cracked desert of red storms and ashes. From the observation deck, Dr. Leon Carter stared down at it. Her reflection in the glass looked tired, the light of the stars fading behind her eyes. She had dreamed of this day all her life, the day humanity would finally open a portal to another world. A second chance for survival, a new home beyond the limits of dying stars. Inside the control room, hundreds of scientists and engineers worked at glowing consoles. The air smelled of metal and static electricity. The hum of machinery mixed with the low voice of the ship's AI. Portal alignment, 97% complete. Energy levels stable. Dr. Carter took a deep breath. "All right," she said, her voice steady. "Begin the final sequence." Beside her, her assistant Ravi Noor smiled nervously. He was younger but brilliant in his own way, quick with numbers, slow with fear. "You really think this will work?" he asked. "It has to," Carter replied. "There's nothing left for us here." The countdown began. On the screen, a swirling energy field formed inside the circular gate at the center of the lab. The portal core was the size of a small moon, its metallic rings rotating at impossible speed. Sparks of blue and gold light shimmered in the air like falling stars. 10 seconds. Carter felt her heartbeat match the rhythm of the pulse on the monitors. She thought about Earth long gone, about the billions who had died when the oceans boiled and the skies burned. The last survivors were now drifting in this ship, hoping for something, anything to survive for. But then something strange happened. Ravi frowned. "Dr. Carter, I'm seeing interference in the frequency bands." Carter leaned over his console. The screen showed waves of static mixed with faint shapes, patterns that looked like letters. "Is that text?" she asked. Ravi's fingers flew across the keys. "Yes, but it's old code." Like from pre-space Earth, he zoomed in. The letters flickered again and again until the message became clear. "Please stop. It's the wrong portal." The room fell silent. Carter blinked. "What is this? A prank?" Ravi shook his head. "No, the signal's embedded in the energy field itself. It's coming from inside the rift." Inside the rift? That was impossible. The portal hadn't even opened yet. "Where is it being transmitted from?" she asked. "I don't know," Ravi whispered, "but it's human. The code structure matches Earth's 21st century transmission pattern. Someone or something human is warning us." Carter stared at the glowing ring ahead. The hum grew louder, turning into a deep vibration that shook the floor beneath them. She opened her mouth to call for an abort, but before she could speak, Commander Jalen Ortiz stepped into the control deck. "Status report," he demanded. His uniform was crisp, his tone sharp. The voice of authority that had kept humanity alive through 1,000 crises. "We're getting interference," Carter said quickly. "A signal inside the rift." "It's a warning," Ortiz raised an eyebrow. "From whom?" "From someone human," Ravi said. "It says we're opening the wrong portal." Ortiz gave a short laugh. "Every scientist who ever failed said the same thing. Proceed." Carter clenched her jaw. "Commander, we don't know where this leads." "If it's another dimension?" "Exactly. Another dimension means another chance." His voice hardened. "If we hesitate now, we die here." "Do your job, Doctor." The countdown resumed. The portal core roared like a storm, bright as a second sun. The walls trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling vents. Ravi looked terrified. Carter looked at him and whispered, "Stay with me." She turned back to her console. AI, confirm power levels. Power levels exceeding safe threshold by 12%. Dimensional stability uncertain. Ortiz's voice thundered, "Ignore the warning. Open the gate!" The final numbers flashed on screen. 3, 2, 1. The rift opened. A beam of white light shot through the room, stretching and bending reality. Time seemed to slow. The air itself rippled like water. Everyone felt their bodies lighten as if gravity itself forgot to exist. Then came the sound. Not a noise, but a feeling. It was like 1,000 whispers in a single thought, echoing through every mind on the ship. Words formed, faint but clear. "You have been warned." Carter fell to her knees, clutching her head. Her mind filled with visions, cities of crystal, stars collapsing, reflections of human faces melting into something else. For a moment, she saw herself standing on a field of glass, staring at another version of herself. Cold, lifeless, mechanical. Ravi screamed. "It's pulling us in."
"Shut it down,"
Carter shouted. "System unresponsive," the AI said. Dimensional breach detected. The portal grew wider, consuming the lab. Equipment was torn from the floor and sucked into the glowing rift. One by one, scientists vanished into the light. Their voices were lost in the roar. Carter grabbed Ravi's arm. "We have to cut the main power." They ran to the emergency console, but the heat was unbearable. Sparks rained from the ceiling. The deck split apart, revealing the swirling void below. Carter felt her boots sliding toward it. She reached for the control lever, but her hand froze. The voice returned, calmer this time, almost pleading. "Please stop." "It's not your world." Tears filled her eyes. "Then whose is it?" No answer came. Only the storm of light. Carter yanked the lever. Nothing happened. The system was already beyond human control. "Dr. Carter," Ravi shouted as the floor gave way. He lost his footing and slid toward the edge. Carter lunged forward, grabbing his hand just in time. His terrified eyes met hers. "Don't let go," he cried. "I won't," she shouted back, straining against the pull. But the force was too strong. The energy tore through the metal, twisting it like paper. Ravi's grip slipped, and then he was gone, swallowed by the light. "Ravi!" Carter screamed. The brightness engulfed her, searing her vision. For a heartbeat, she saw everything, the ship, the stars, the dying planet, all folding into a single point of impossible brightness. Then silence. When she opened her eyes, everything was different. She was lying on the floor of what looked like the same control room, but it wasn't. The air was thicker. The lights were dim and golden. The consoles around her glowed with symbols she didn't recognize. The walls looked alive, like metal breathing in slow rhythm. Outside the window, the planet below wasn't red and dead anymore. It was covered in shimmering blue clouds, glowing with strange energy. Carter struggled to stand. Her ears still rang with echoes of the voice. Her heart pounded with confusion and fear. Where am I?" she whispered. The AI spoke again, but it didn't sound like the same machine. Its voice was softer, older. "Welcome, Dr. Carter. The transition is complete. You have entered the inverted world." Her breath caught. "Inverted?" The AI continued. "This is the reflection of your own dimension. You have crossed into the other side." Carter's eyes widened in horror and awe. The portal had opened, but not to salvation. It had opened to something else. Something that watched. Something waiting. She turned slowly toward the portal chamber, now glowing faintly behind her. The words she had ignored still echoed in her mind. "Please stop. It's the wrong portal." Dr. Leon Carter stood frozen in the silent control room, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. The lights above her flickered softly, casting long golden shadows on the walls. Everything looked almost familiar, but wrong. The screens were curved instead of flat, and the air carried a faint humming sound like a whisper from the walls themselves. She took a shaky breath. "Ravi?" she called out. No answer. Only the low voice of the ship's AI replied, though it sounded older now, almost human. "Dr. Carter, your pulse is unstable. Please remain calm. You have crossed into the inverted dimension." Her head spun. "Inverted dimension? What does that mean?" "A mirrored version of your universe. The laws of physics and time flow in reverse here." She tried to remember what happened. The warning, the explosion, the light. Then she remembered Ravi's face, his terrified eyes as the portal pulled him away. Her throat tightened. "How many survived?" The AI paused. "Scanning. 6 life signs detected on this vessel. 6 out of hundreds." Her chest ached with guilt. But she had no time for grief. She had to understand what this place was, and how to get her people home. She left the control deck and walked down the main corridor. The walls seemed to pulse faintly, like veins under skin. As she passed, glowing symbols shifted and rearranged, as if the ship was trying to speak a language she couldn't understand. At the end of the hall, she found the survivors gathered in the mess hall. Commander Ortiz, his uniform torn, 2 engineers, Mira and Kaito, a medic named Elena, and a pilot, Darnell, with blood on his forehead. When they saw Carter, they all stood at once. "Doctor," Ortiz said, his voice rough. "What in the stars happened?" Carter hesitated. "We crossed dimensions. We're not in our own universe anymore." The room went still. "What do you mean?" Darnell asked, his voice trembling. "You're saying we're in another reality?" "Yes," Carter said quietly. a reflection of ours. Everything here looks the same, but it's not. The rules are different. Time may even run backward. Mira swallowed hard. So if time runs backward, does that mean Earth isn't dead here? Carter looked at her with sad eyes. I don't know. They sat in silence for a while, the hum of the walls surrounding them like the breath of some invisible creature. Then the AI's voice returned, echoing through the room. Dr. Carter, external readings show life forms approaching the ship. Ortiz snapped to attention. Hostile? Unknown. Energy signatures similar to human, yet inverted in frequency. Carter frowned. Show me the visual. The ceiling shimmered, forming a holographic image of the world outside. A group of tall figures approached across the glowing ground. Humanoid, but too smooth, too symmetrical. Their eyes glowed faintly blue. Their skin reflected light like polished glass. Mira whispered, They look like... Us. Carter narrowed her eyes. No, they look like what we could become. The figures stopped near the ship's entrance. A soft vibration shook the floor and the air shimmered. Without warning, one of them appeared inside the hall, standing only a few feet from Carter. Everyone froze. The being spoke, its voice calm but echoing like it came from far away. Welcome, Reflections. You have crossed the boundary. Ortiz stepped forward, hand on his sidearm. Identify yourself. The being tilted its head. We are the Reflected. We are what you become when you forget your purpose. Carter's skin prickled. What does that mean? The Reflected stepped closer. Your kind opened the wrong gate. The portal you built does not lead to salvation, but to inversion. Every thought, every action here runs opposite to its source. Creation and destruction are the same, Mira whispered. So, what happens to us now? The Reflected's glowing eyes met Carter's. You cannot stay. Your presence unbalances the symmetry of this world. Already your reality fades. Carter's mind raced. How do we return? The being raised a hand. At the center of this realm lies the original core, the first portal your ancestors opened centuries ago. It is the anchor between our worlds. But to reach it, you must pass through the mirror fields where memory and reality blur. Ortiz crossed his arms. And if we don't? Then both our worlds collapse, the being said simply. Yours will vanish from existence. Ours will freeze in time. Carter exchanged looks with her crew. They were tired, frightened, but determined. She could see it in their faces, the spark that made humans human. We'll go, she said finally. We'll find the core. The Reflected nodded slowly. Beware what you see. This world shows what you hide from yourselves. Then with a sound like breaking glass, it vanished. Hours later, the small team prepared for the journey. The ship's scanners had mapped a path to the core, a glowing sphere deep within a valley of shifting mirrors. As they stepped outside, the air felt thick and alive. The ground beneath them shimmered like liquid metal. Every step they took left glowing footprints that slowly faded away. The landscape stretched endlessly, full of floating stones and golden rivers running uphill. The sky itself was mirrored. They could see their own reflections walking upside down above them. This place is impossible, Darnell muttered. Up is down, down is up. Carter studied the scanner. The core is 60 kilometers east. Stay close. They walked for hours in silence. Sometimes they saw shapes in the distance, cities made of glass, towers twisting like spirals, and shadows of people moving inside them. But when they approached, the cities vanished like smoke. Elena whispered, Are those illusions? Memories, Carter said quietly. Echoes of our world. As they moved deeper into the valley, the air grew colder. They crossed a bridge of light where the surface rippled like water. In the center of the bridge stood another reflected being, its body cracked like old glass. Turn back, it warned. The core shows no mercy. It reveals your truth. Ortiz raised his chin. We've already seen enough. The being's eyes glowed brighter. Not yet. Without warning, the ground beneath them split apart. Each of them fell through a tunnel of shifting light. Carter landed hard on smooth stone, gasping for air. When she stood up, she was alone. The world around her had changed again. She stood in a familiar place, the laboratory on Earth years ago, before Arcturus, before the Horizon Arc. Her younger self was there, standing by the first prototype portal. Ravi was there too, laughing. She realized this wasn't real. It was the mirror showing her past. The younger Carter spoke without turning. You always wanted to play God, didn't you? Carter froze. You're not real. The reflection smiled sadly. Neither is the line between creation and destruction. You ignored the first warning. You thought knowledge would save you. I was trying to save everyone, Carter said. Were you? The reflection whispered. Or were you trying to save yourself from guilt? Carter clenched her fists. Enough. The world cracked apart again. She fell through light and sound until she hit the ground beside Ortiz and the others. They looked shaken. Elena was crying softly. Mira stared into space. Ortiz gritted his teeth. It showed me my family. Before the war? Carter placed a hand on his shoulder. It's trying to break us. Don't let it. They pressed on. Finally, they reached the core. It was vast, an orb of shifting light, suspended in midair above a lake of glowing liquid. The reflections of both their world and this one swirled within it like a storm. It pulsed with life, whispering in languages too old to name. Carter stepped forward. This is it. The AI's voice came faintly from her communicator. Dr. Carter, energy readings are unstable. Prolonged contact could erase your existence. She smiled bitterly. Then we'll just have to move fast. Ortiz looked at her. How do we close it? Carter stared at the core. We don't close it, we fix it. The warning said it was the wrong portal, so maybe there's a right one. A stable path, Mira frowned. And how do we find it? Before Carter could answer, the air trembled. A figure stepped out of the core. It was human. An old man in a torn uniform, his face glowing faintly like light through water. He smiled weakly. About time someone came. Carter's breath caught. Who are you? The man looked at her with sad eyes. I was the first. The one who opened this gate 2 centuries ago. I tried to stop you, but you didn't listen. Her heart pounded. You sent the message, he nodded. Yes, I've been trapped here ever since. The core pulsed brighter and the ground began to shake. The old man looked at her urgently. If you want to save both worlds, you must merge them, not close them. They were never meant to be enemies. The portal is a bridge, not a weapon. Carter stared into the storm of light, her mind racing. Merge the worlds? Could that even work? Ortiz shouted over the roar, Doctor! The core's overloading! Carter turned to her crew, her voice steady. Then we do what humans always do, we adapt. She stepped toward the glowing core, light spilling across her face. Behind her, the world trembled, ready to collapse. Ahead of her, a new possibility waited. A path between destruction and creation. She whispered to herself. Maybe it was never the wrong portal. Just the wrong purpose. Then she reached out her hand. The core pulsed like a beating heart, light spilling across the mirrored landscape of the inverted world. Dr. Leon Carter stood at its edge, her hand trembling but steady as she reached toward it. Behind her, the remaining survivors, Ortiz, Mira, Elena, Darnell, and Kaito, watched with fear and awe. The air hummed, carrying whispers of both worlds, Earth, Arcturus, and all the dimensions between. The old man, the first portal explorer, floated slightly above the ground, his body glowing with energy. This is your chance, he said. Merge the worlds. Let humanity's strength, not its fear, guide the flow. Carter swallowed hard. And if we fail? He shook his head slowly. You won't. Humanity has one edge even here, empathy. It's the spark that survives where logic alone fails. Carter looked at her crew. Each face reflected determination mixed with uncertainty. Time was flowing backward here in subtle waves. Every second meant their reality was fading, erasing the memory of their own universe. Yet in their hearts, a single truth remained. Humans don't give up easily. She stepped forward. The core responded immediately, light forming spirals around her hand as if testing her intentions. The old man's voice guided her. Focus on what makes you human. Compassion, connection, understanding. Carter closed her eyes. She thought of Earth, its oceans, its green forests, the people who had lived and died. She thought of Ravi, taken by the portal, and the warnings he had helped transmit. She thought of her crew, standing with her against impossible odds. All that mattered was not the portal, not the worlds. It was the heart of humanity itself. Her hand touched the core. A surge of energy exploded outward, and Carter felt herself lifted off the ground. Light swirled around her, carrying images from both dimensions. The inverted world cities of glass twisted, mirrored landscapes folded, and time bent in impossible ways. She could see Arcturus 9 burning below and Earth's blue ocean spinning above. Voices echoed in the storm. Some familiar, some alien. They weren't words exactly, more like memories, fears, hopes, all intertwined. Carter focused on one thing: the connection, the shared spark of life that defined humans across any dimension. The old man's voice cut through the chaos. Do not fight it. Let the world see each other as they are. You are the bridge. Carter's mind screamed against the pain, the dizziness, but she listened. She reached deeper into the core, sending out a pulse of pure intent. Understanding, care, hope. Slowly, the light began to calm. The mirrored cities stabilized. Rivers of energy ceased their chaotic dance. The air no longer hummed angrily, but softly like a welcome sigh. The survivors, clutching each other, felt the pull of reality changing. The inverted world softened. The harsh golden light became warmer, gentler. Structures shifted, reflecting both worlds' best features, a balance between the stark perfection of the mirror and the flawed beauty of humanity. Carter opened her eyes. Before her, the core had become a sphere of harmonious light. The old man floated closer. It's done. You've merged what should have been divided. The portal is no longer a weapon, no longer a trap. It is a bridge. Ortiz let out a long breath. So, we're alive? Yes, Carter said softly. Both worlds are alive. But more than that, we are stronger because of it. The old man's glow began to fade. My time here ends. Remember, the lesson is not about power or technology. It is about humanity. Even in the face of impossible odds, empathy guides survival. With that, he vanished, leaving Carter and the crew standing by the core, their reflections mingling with the golden light of the newly merged world. The AI spoke again, calm and familiar. Dr. Carter, external scan shows stable planetary systems. The dimensions are synchronized. Life signatures are secure, Carter smiled. We did it. Mira wiped tears from her eyes. It feels peaceful, like it should always have been. Darnell laughed shakily. I can't believe it. We survived a dimension we didn't even know existed. Elena touched Carter's shoulder. You led us here. You saved us. Carter shook her head. We saved each other. Humanity saved itself. The team looked out at the landscape beyond the core. The merged world stretched endlessly, filled with forests, rivers, mountains, and cities glowing softly. Stars glittered above, some familiar, some entirely new. It was a world that had survived catastrophe, reflection, and chaos, now held together by a single truth. Life persists because humans care for each other. Even when everything seems lost. Ravi's memory flickered in Carter's mind. She had thought him gone, lost forever to the wrong portal, but somehow in this merging she felt his presence, a faint pulse of energy, a reassurance that they were connected across space and dimensions. Humanity had left no one behind, not completely. Carter turned to Ortiz. We have to make sure this knowledge isn't lost. The portal, the core, it can help future generations, not just save us today. Ortiz nodded slowly. Agreed, but we must approach it carefully. This merging shows power beyond comprehension. Carter gazed at the core one last time. It pulsed gently, no longer dangerous, no longer threatening. It was alive, aware, and balanced, just like humanity could be if it remembered what mattered most. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook slightly. The core's light flickered again, but this time it was welcoming. Tiny fragments of energy floated upward, forming shapes of people, cities, and memories from both worlds. Carter realized the portal had become more than a bridge. It had become a guardian, a recorder of human hope and resilience. Mira whispered, It's beautiful. Yes, Carter said, and it's ours to protect. They walked back to the Horizon Arc, which had also merged with the landscape. The ship looked alive, glowing with energy. Systems that had been damaged were restored. Life signals were stable. The survivors felt the warmth of the air and the light of the sun, a real sun, not the dying light of Arcturus 9. The universe seemed to breathe with them. As they prepared to explore the new planet below, Carter paused. She looked at the horizon. Somewhere in the sky she imagined Ravi smiling, echoing the warning that had guided them here. Please stop. It's the wrong portal, but she had learned the truth. There was no wrong portal, only wrong intentions. Humanity's spark was its compassion, its ability to try again, and to learn from mistakes. That spark had bridged worlds and preserved life. That spark was indestructible. The survivors stepped down from the ship. Each footprint glowed faintly on the ground, disappearing slowly. Carter led them toward a valley of green forests, rivers, and mountains. The wind carried a strange, pure sound like laughter and music at once. It was a world reborn, ready for humanity to thrive, not by conquering, but by understanding. Carter paused and looked back at the core, still hovering in the distance, its light dimmed to a steady pulse. She whispered, "Humanity learns, not because we are perfect, but because we try again." Ortiz clapped her on the shoulder. "Well said, Doctor. You've done more than science today. You've done what humans do best, hope," she smiled. For the first time in years, Carter felt the weight of despair lift. They had crossed dimensions, faced impossible odds, and survived. And the universe, strange, vast, and infinite, was now open to human courage, empathy, and resilience. Above them, the sky shimmered with stars from both worlds. The core pulsed softly, a heartbeat shared between realities. Carter took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the sun and the pulse of life all around her. "Let's go," she said to her crew. "We have a world to build." Together they walked into the green valley, leaving the portal glowing behind them. Humanity had not only survived, they had triumphed. Not through power or domination, but through connection, compassion, and the willingness to try again. And somewhere across the merged cosmos, the first portal explorer's whisper lingered, "Humanity's spark endures, always."